Alrighty. I'm gonna keep the mature part of me in this story. Gotta catch my breath for this one. Okay. Hey guys, it's Hannah, and this is the first video that I am voluntarily doing because if you watched my other video on my sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. If you watched my other video on my channel, it was because of an English project and I had to do it. But now, last night I was watching a bunch of like the story time videos on YouTube, so I was like, I could make use of a story time video. Today, that's just what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna talk and I'm gonna tell the story. I have this, so if you see me looking down a few times, it's because I planned it all out right there. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Let's just get started, Hannah, stop talking. This story is basically about the time that one of my ex-good friends, someone that I thought was a good friend, made a Snapchat account of me and told a bunch of creepy men to send me nudes. There you go. Spoiler alert, that happens at the end. I'm going to give a little bit of background information before we go into the deep stuff here. So I can leave out this person's name. We are going to call him... We'll call him Bob. We'll call him Bob, okay? His name is Bob. And this Bob person, I used to work with him at the supermarket that I still work at. And he was a college kid when he was working there. So at first it was just like the summer, and then he was going to leave with like all of the other college kids that were graduating and leaving on to college, and he was going to go into college. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started working with him in the summer of 2014, and we worked together for a while. We became friends. And then he was going to go off to college, but he didn't go off to college. Well, he did, but then he came home like a month later because he said that he failed out of college. So I was like, all right, it's your life, you do you. I don't want to get into his personal like part of the story. I'm just going to tell you what happened between us. We were really good friends. I would talk to him on like a daily basis. I would help him out with like family shit, all this other personal stuff. And I was like, okay, this is a good friend. We fought like a few times over stupid stuff. His excuse for getting into like the small arguments that we got into, which weren't always small, we would like yell at each other. His excuse was always that he was under the influence. He was either drunk or taking like his anxiety meds. So I was like, for the first couple times I kind of let it slide, and I was just like, okay, it's fine. Like, I'm over it. I don't hold grudges against people. I don't like to do that. There was one night, we weren't fighting. It was just like a regular night for me. It was pretty late. It was around like 9 o'clock at night, and it was a school night, so I was like getting ready to go to bed. So he was texting me, and all of a sudden he brings up the fact that he is feeling really suicidal and he wants to kill himself. And I was like, ugh. Like when I heard this, because I get really overprotective with my friends and everything, I was just like, no, I started freaking out. Like I started like sweating and having an anxiety attack. So I called him and it went straight to voicemail, and I called him again, went straight to voicemail. I kept texting him, he didn't answer, and then I started to really freak out. So I went into my mom's room and I was like bawling my eyes out, and I was like, can you call their house phone to make sure that he's okay? And she was like, no, it's fine. Like, he's fine. You can call the house phone. Why do I have to call? And I was like, because I'm like, do you see me? I'm like shaking and I'm bawling my eyes out. Like, can you please just call the house? I just want to make sure that he's like alive. Called the house phone. The dad answered. My mom was like, hi, I'm sitting with Hannah. She was talking to Thomas apparently, and she just wants to make sure that he's okay. And the dad was like, yeah, Thomas is sitting right next to me. Like, he's fine. We're just watching TV. And so I was like, oh, phew. I only tell that part of the story, that like actual story, because it comes in at the end with like all the major stuff. I think maybe like a month later, he came into the place where we work, but he wasn't working in there at the time because he tried to go back to college again. So this is obviously a few months after he failed out the first time. So he went back not to the same school, he went to a different school. He went to a different school, and he stayed there for a few weeks, I think he lasted. This is honestly sad to say. Okay, I felt like I was losing the natural lighting, so if the lighting just changed, I apologize. So he came in, and he said he was coming in, like, just to visit, because he took the train down to Scituate, because it was the weekend, I think. So I think he just said that he was coming home for the weekend, and I was like, oh, okay. He's acting really weird, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And he was like, I basically failed out of school and I don't want to go home to tell my parents. Oh my god. And I'm like, oh, great. Because now you're putting your shit on me. So I was like, okay. We were on good terms at the time, and I didn't have my license yet, so my grandmother was picking me up from work at 9 o'clock. So I was like, do you want to just come over to my house, or we can drive you home? But you want to just do either one. You don't have to have your parents come and get you now. You can just, like, hang out here until I leave. And he was like, yeah, I'll do that. So we hung out. It was maybe for like an hour, because it was already 8 o'clock when he came in the first place. He was like, is it okay if I stay over? And I was like, ugh, I have school the next day. Like, I don't want, like, I like to think that I was, like, a really good friend in this situation, in the entire situation, because I forgave him multiple times after we had those small arguments, and I let him stay in my living room when he was too afraid to go home to his parents. So I went to school. I came home, he was still here, and I was like, what's going on? Did your dad not come? And he was like, no, he doesn't get out of work till 5. So now I'm stuck in this situation for another, like, 2.5 hours, and I was like, ugh. And so we just, like, hung out, and I was like, are you scared to, like, tell your dad? Like, what, like, tell me what's happening right now. And he was like, yeah, I'm scared because I'm probably just going to get into a lot of trouble, and then all of this stuff is going to start building up. And I was like, okay. And I was trying to just talk to him about it to make him feel better about it so that he would have a better chance at talking to his dad. His dad comes at like 6 o'clock, and he's in the driveway, and Thomas just leaves, and I was like, bye. Like, I was used to the fighting and, like, the small arguments, like, every now and then when he got bored and he needed something to do, because the kid doesn't go to college now because he's home. He just failed out twice in 1 year, so he's home, and he's supposed to be taking, like, classes online or something because he can't handle the college, like, environment. The fights kept on happening more and more often because he was bored and he needed something to do, so he just decided, hey, let me fight with Hannah today. My birthday comes around, and he comes in. We're on good terms when he comes in. He comes in, and he's like, I'm gonna buy you Ben & Jerry's, and I was like, oh, okay, great. He goes and he buys, I think 3. He buys 1 for himself and 2 for me, and I was like, I jokingly, after he bought them, I was like, oh my god, Thomas, you're gonna make me fat. Like, I said it in, like, a joking, funny way, and he was like, oh, haha, no, you can take them, I don't care. He was like, you're not fat. He just, like, tried to make me, like, feel better. Even though I was joking, I said it in a completely joking tone, sarcastic tone. So I'm like, you can take it, honestly. Like, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the ice cream, but, like, if you want it, you can take it. And he was like, okay. So he took it. He was fine. The next morning was a school day. So I get a Snapchat, but it's like the Snapchat, like, chat thing, like the text message type thing on Snapchat. So he Snapchat texts me. The first, I don't remember him like starting a conversation or anything. I think he just jumped into this huge paragraph of him going off on me. And so I couldn't look at it in class, but like during the passing period, I looked at it, and basically, I wish I still had it. Basically, all he was saying was like, you're a bitch, you show like the same appreciation every single time I do something for you. Like saying, oh, I don't want to is just being a bitch. And he just like kept on going on and on and on about this joke that I made the night before. And so I was just like, I was joking. Like, I do appreciate like you getting that for my birthday and everything. So I wasn't having this when I was in school, because I was like, this is too much drama for me when I'm already like in school. Like I hate school enough, I'm stressed out enough, I don't need you on top of that while I'm in school. And then when I got out of my third period class, because I didn't talk to him all of like second period, so when I got out of my third period class, he was like, he called me a cunt, and I was like, are you serious right now? Like, I replied and I was like, listen, like there's no need to be rude to me right now. Like I was just joking. And then so after that he went on piece of dust. He went on like a rampage and he was like, you're a cunt, you show no appreciation, I can't believe you even have friends. And then it turned into this huge thing, because when he called me that word, I was like, no, I was not having it. So I was like, I hope you realize that from you calling me that, I am never, ever, ever going to forgive you. You can call me a bitch, you can call me whatever you want, but that word is never to be said to me. And then I mentioned that I had a friend a couple years prior to this, and I was like, he called me that word and I still haven't forgiven him. And it's been 3 years. And he was like, I don't give a shit, like, all of this stuff. And he just went on and on and on. And I fought back, because I'm the type of person that's like, if you're gonna attack me, I'm not gonna sit here and just block you. Like, I need to, like, prove to you that you're wrong. Like, that's just the type of person that I am. I can't help that. He brought up at one point that just because he was being petty, he was just like, the night that I called or texted you that I wanted to kill myself, I just shut my phone off just because I thought it was fun to see, like, how you would react. So if you connect that to the other story that I told earlier in the video, he literally turned his phone off after he told me that he wanted to kill himself just because it was entertaining for him to see what I would do or say. I was like, you're way more fucked up than I thought you were 2 minutes ago. Then, oh my god, this part is so, like, fucked up. Okay, so then it got to the point where we're still fighting over Snapchat text. He brings up my friend, I'm not gonna say her name, we'll call her Sarah. Okay, her name is Sarah in this situation. So he brings up Sarah, and Sarah's dad had passed away maybe a month, almost, it was like a month and a half prior to this. And Sarah's dad passed away from a heart attack. So he knew about it, and he showed his condolences to her and everything. And he brought her into the conversation. I said nothing about her first. He, on the other hand, wait. Shit, am I forgetting something? Sorry, hold on. What? Okay, let's backtrack a little bit, because him and Sarah had beef, like, before this, and I think it was over oh, okay. Alright, yeah, we're gonna backtrack a lot. So, before he even mentioned this Sarah person, before her dad even passed away, this was over the summer. Her dad passed away at the end of summer. So over the summer, she had this boy that she was, like, having troubles with and whatever. And so she told Bob about it, and he was like, yeah, I'll help out. Yeah, I'll like, talk to you. Let me know if you need anything. And she's like, okay, thanks. And then when he does that, he, like, kept on texting her, like, every single day, like, hey, how are you? Hey, why won't... And then if she didn't answer, he'd be like, why aren't you answering me? And then he'd flip out on her, too. So she was telling me, she was like, I just think he's, like, annoying, and I don't want to focus on this kid that I, like, ranted to him about, like, a month ago. So I was like, yeah, I know, he did the same thing to me, like, I know it gets annoying, just ignore him, or just say, I don't want to talk about it. So I think she said that, and he was like, oh, okay, fine. And then he got mad at her. And then when her dad passed away, he was like, oh shit, now I feel bad. So then, back to me and him, over the Snapchat text, she was brought up, and he was like, what did I lie about? And I said, about, like, bothering Sarah and doing all that stuff to Sarah and saying all that stuff to Sarah, because he called her names too. Like, he got that mad at her for not responding to his text. So I was like, you do this to everyone, and I don't understand why. But then there was one point in the conversation, get ready for this, okay? Like, prepare yourself. This part is the most fucked up thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Basically, he was going off about Sarah at the time because I brought her into the conversation, or she was brought into the conversation because I was like, you're a liar. And at one point, he was like, well, Sarah shouldn't have been acting like a whore. That's why what's-his-face left her in the summer. And I was like, are you serious right now? Like, you're gonna call her... Like, I should have really stopped responding, but this is when my other friend was brought into it, and I do not stop arguing unless I have the chance to defend my friends if they are brought into the argument. So I was like, are you serious right now? You're really gonna call her a whore for... like, liking this kid? And he was like, if my... This is the part that's gonna make me... Okay, so he said, and I quote, I remember it perfectly. He said, if my daughter was acting like that, I would have a heart attack. Sent it. And then he sent another message saying, oh, wait. Now, if you're putting the pieces together and you listen to the other part of the story, Sarah's dad passed away from a heart attack. After that, I was completely done. I was done calling him out. I was done being petty about this. This is where I was like, you need serious help. That was the most fucked up thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm going to tell her about this. You're going to get in serious trouble, not just by us. Like, I'm going to get serious trouble put onto you. And he was like, yeah, do your worst. You can't do anything. And I was like, watch me. I didn't do anything about it besides tell Sarah. And then Sarah went to our school therapist about it and talked about it. And she talked to one of the police officers that work in our school. Like, we have a few police officers that work in the school. So she talked to her too. And I wasn't there, but Sarah just went and she just told what she knew about the argument. I'm not sure if she brought my name into it. Yes, she did. Yeah, she did, because the school therapist called my mom that day and she was like, listen, I know that Hannah's going through something right now and I just want to make sure that she's okay, because my mom didn't answer, so she left a voicemail. Yeah, after that whole thing ended, it was a couple days later after Sarah had already talked to the school therapist had already called my mom and everything like that. This is where the title of the video comes into play. So basically, one morning, it was a weekend, I wake up, I think it was a Saturday morning, I wake up to over 100 people adding me on Snapchat, and I look through the usernames, I look through every single one to see if I know any of them, and I didn't know any of them. It was all disgusting names. It was all like big dick whatever, and like it was just gross names, like gross creepy names, and they were obviously all guys. So I was like, what? Like, how did all of you get my Snapchat? And then I got a couple text messages from a couple different numbers that weren't even in my area code, and I looked at them, and one of them was some guy's dick saying, what do you think? And I was like, get the fuck rid of my number right now. I was like, how did you get this number? I do not text me ever again, but tell me how you got this number. He was like, you gave it to me. And I was like, no, I didn't. I don't know who you were talking to, but tell me right now where you got this number and who gave it to you. He didn't respond. He probably blocked my number or whatever. So I get another text message a few minutes later from a different area code, and it was like, hey, ASL, and I was like, who are you? Like, how did you get this number? Because you're the second person that has texted me in the past 10 minutes texting this number. And he was like, you gave it to me. And I was like, no, I didn't. Tell me where you got this number, who gave it to you, and just tell me, like, where you got my number. I was so frustrated because it was disgusting. Like, it was just all these guys adding me on Snapchat. It rose up. They still add me to this day, but it's not as much. So at this point, I probably have like maybe 500 people that have added me on Snapchat ever since this has happened. But the first day, it rose up to maybe 150 people adding me on Snapchat. So I was like, oh my god, and I was so frustrated. I was like bawling my eyes out all morning because my mom wasn't home, my sister wasn't home. I was all alone in my house just getting all of these disgusting, creepy guys texting and Snapchatting me. And so I texted my mom's friend because my mom was mad at me at the time. Okay, so I have to finish filming on my phone because my camera died. So I was so frustrated. I was texting my mom's friend and I was like, where's my mom? This is an emergency. And she's like, what's going on? And I was like, I was getting all of these people adding me on Snapchat and texting me. And she was like, okay, we need to take this to the police. And I was like, okay, but can you guys like come home so that we can do that? Because I'm like not dealing with this all day. I've been bawling my eyes out for the past like 2 hours. But they didn't come home until like 5 o'clock. This happened at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And then we had my little sister had a soccer game that she had to go to. So I was like, oh my god, like we just need to go to the police station and we need to get this settled so that I can go into work. Because work made me like even more stressed out. I was like, I have to be at work. So she was like, yeah, well, they can wait. And I was like, all right. So we went to the soccer game. So we ended up having to drive my sister and her friend home. So we left, drove them home, and then went straight back to the police station. The police station is the scariest place. I've never been in there before, and I was like, I never want to come back in here again. My mom was like, she is getting a bunch of disgusting men adding her on Snapchat and texting her, and the woman at the desk was like, okay, I'll send you in with an officer. Sure enough, it was the same officer that Sarah had talked to in the school therapist's office. So she already knew the story, but she didn't know who I was because she's never met me before. So I go back there and we go into like the conference room and I instantly start bawling my eyes out. I'm like, I cannot believe that this is happening. I can't believe that I have to sit here and tell you this story right now. She was like, oh, you're Hannah. You're the girl that is involved with this whole situation. And I was like, yeah, that's me. So apparently Sarah like mentioned me in the meeting that she had. So I was like, okay. So I gave her my phone. She read over the entire thing because I saved all of it on Snapchat. She read the whole entire conversation. It was a really long conversation. She was sitting there for like 5 minutes just reading it. And I was like, I was freaking out. I was crying. And she was like, I still didn't know. When I asked one of the guys over text, I was like, how did you get my number? He said, you're hot Hannah 8. It was like 877 on Snapchat. And I was like, oh, all right. So you got my Snapchat and my phone number from a different Snapchat that was saying add me on this Snapchat and here's my number under the username hothannah877 or whatever the numbers were. I forget now. But he was like, yeah. And he was like, sorry about that. And I was like, it's fine, just do not text me again. My mom comes back in and my mom is like, do you think that this person is Bob? And the police officer is like, I have no doubt in my mind it is 100% him. And I was like, okay. So I kind of already suspected that, but I was hoping it was him so that it wasn't anyone else setting up this account and giving out my number and my Snapchat. And she was like, I want you, talking to me, she was like, I want you to block him on all of social media I want you to take a break from social media in total, like take a break from everything. Block him everywhere, unfriend him everywhere, do everything that you can to erase him completely. And I was like, okay. So I did that, and I was like, can the police do something more than just me blocking him? Because when I went into this, I really wanted him to get in trouble, like serious trouble by the police. So she was like, you only technically have 2 pieces of evidence. You have the Snapchat account, that is him, and all these guys adding you, and then you have the Snapchat text. So there's only really 2 pieces that we can use, and I am legally not allowed to do anything if there's only 2. Like, we need 3 pieces of evidence. I was like, I was so frustrated. I was like, are you serious? Like, I came here, so I didn't come here to talk to you like you're a therapist. I came here so that you can do something about this. And she was like, I can call him from the station, and I can be like, you are not allowed to contact Sarah or Hannah ever again. And I can warn him, and I can say, if I find out that you're showing up at their work, because Sarah works with me, she was like, if I find out that you're showing up at their work, or if you're showing up at the school, or if you're showing up at their houses, anywhere that they are, if you show up, there will be serious consequences, but this is your warning. She didn't do that while I was there, but she was like, that's what I'm gonna tell him. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I get like the whole legal thing, even though I was so frustrated. But like, after we left, I started bawling my eyes out yet again on the way home to my mom, and I was like, I just wish they could do something more than just call him. Like, I really wanted something to happen because I'm so sick of this. And she was like, yeah, but you're just gonna take a break, you're gonna delete him, you're gonna take a break from social media, you're gonna do all that. So I did that. I lasted with that for maybe like 5 days, like not going on social media, blocking him, unfriending him, doing all of that. So that all ended, basically. The officer was like, I'm gonna write down that you were here today. If you have anything else, if you have any questions, if anything else happens, I want you to come. Like, do not hesitate, don't wait to come here, just come and tell me. That was all only 4 months ago that this happened. And nothing has happened since, so he hasn't gotten in serious trouble, except for the call. So now, I mean, nothing has happened, but that's basically the story of when what I considered one of my good friends made a Snapchat account of me, and apparently Snapchatted guys and was like, hey, here's my number, send me pictures, do this, do that. I still got guys adding me to this day. If you guys like the video, do whatever you want to do. I don't even want to say anything, but that's my experience with this whole thing. Hope you enjoyed listening to it more than I enjoyed it happening. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you very soon.